Hi, everybody. I'm Joel Ledlow. This is Evolution JKD. As always, I'm joined by Ian.
Hi.
Uh, I may or may not have blown that up. I'm really trying
It's okay.
so much. It's like the ongoing thing to, I think one of these episodes, I'm just going to be like, no, and scream into the mic. It's going to be like old school death metal
It'd be a
bands
form
from
of
like the 80s,
entertainment for
90s coming
sure.
out there.
Some people would appreciate it, but it would definitely attract a different crowd. Probably the old folk like,
I,
oh, I can hear him.
Yeah, it works out great. The 70, 80-year-old death metal people, they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, well, this is the best thing ever. So I wanted to talk about, or at least open the idea of oftentimes I see out in the world, the social world of Jeet Kune Do. Jeet Kune Do is often presented as being very one-dimensional. It's a lot of stand this way, attack with only the lead finger jab and a lead, side kick or hook kick or whatever. And this excludes not only all of the other tools that can be implemented, but also all of the other given scenarios that could happen. And I think that's a really bad thing to present. So there's a blind assumption that every conflict will be facing each other and only with, one opponent, and you're starting from a given distance apart from each other, and you're both going to acknowledge, you're both going to bow into each other, and then both parties are like, "Hey, we're ready, okay, and go." Like, really, that's as a martial artist, as a fighter, as a person who's been in any sort of conflict, that should be just mind-boggling and idiotic. I get that there are a few instructors out there who have maybe focused on only a few aspects so as to create a clear picture for an unskilled audience to grasp. I get that. However, as instructors, aren't we supposed to be teaching? Um, aren't we supposed to be showing everything that's out there and sharing the knowledge? And it makes me question whether they have any actual skills or a solid knowledge base to draw from, or if they're just doing the one trick pony that they learned at a seminar, and let's put on a camera and I'm going to show myself doing the same thing, and I'm going to quote Bruce Lee 15 ways to Sunday. Shouldn't we, as martial artists, shouldn't we as instructors be questioning everything in order to expand our knowledge and capacity to apply? Fixating on a note or one thing that was said by Bruce Lee, you look, well, in Bruce Lee's notes, he said this, or here's an interview where he said that.
He
And
said
then
it.
boxing or, yeah,
He said
what's
the
that?
thing. He said it.
He said it. Here's a
Yeah.
quote. Here's a partial quote
It
from it.
must be true.
But they box themselves into this corner, and it seems counter to like the whole idea of training and to Jeet Kune Do and to what Bruce Lee was trying to get of like, hey, for yourself, don't be limited and all that kind of stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me. And look, I can be, to be a little bit honest, I've had students quote me. They come back and be like, "Oh, Sifu Joel, you said this," and I'm like, I have no recollection whatsoever of saying that. And even a few times I'm like, wow, did I say that? I think, what the heck was the context? Like, that's me with my own students. And I'm not saying, whatever, but if you're an instructor and someone said, "Oh, you told me this," well, that was in the moment. That was what I said with the best of my knowledge, with the best of my intentions in that moment to that individual in those given scenarios, whatever they might have been. But fast forward 5, 10 years, shit, I don't remember what the hell I said. "Oh,
Yeah.
Steve, I remember you told me this." That sounds
Cool.
cool.
Yeah. Sick.
Are you sure I said that? Was I quoting somebody else? Well, I don't really quote other people because I have a terrible memory for that. But yeah, I just, and I get a lot of people who jump onto some of my videos on my channel, and they come in there. well, shouldn't it just be this? Look, I cannot encompass all of my knowledge and all of my skills into a single video. Like, it just, I can't do it. I'm 50 years old. I have 35 years of experience. I move a lot and I don't even know what all I know. I just move a ton. And this is not just me. This is true for a lot of people and a lot of different things. You can't always expect everyone to show you everything they know in a 90-second clip. Ian, can
Oh,
you encompass everything you know about tricking in a 90-second clip?
no, I couldn't do it in 10 hours, you know?
Yeah.
We've, you and I have a decade of, over a decade of training together, and there's still things that we have to go back and revisit. And that's not, you know, the countless hours that we've spent, even one on one, you know, or in the classroom, or all of that. It's like, it's just not, this isn't like a pick up and play hobby that you're just like, oh, I get it and I can do it. It's like, no, dude, you got to put the time in.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be ridiculous to think otherwise, that you're just like, oh, I know how to do this.
Well, even if you take something that is a lot more fixated, you take something like chess. But how many variations? And I actually don't know the answer, but I've seen people who play chess a lot and play chess quite well. I'm not one of them, but I've watched these people and they play chess over and over and over because it's alive and it's moving. And yes, they do know there's this move and then there's this, defense and there's this attack. And they'll know these things, but there's still so many variations to play it, just like you would have in, say, kickboxing, where you only have so many punches and so many kicks that are allowed by the rules to these targets. It- but it's still alive and you're still moving.
Right.
And we're stepping, go to chess is one limitation, and then you're freeing yourself up by going to kickboxing because that's a whole different thing. It's like changing chess pieces. You can have those little chess pieces from Star Wars that move around and like grab each other, little 3D ones.
Hmm.
That would be cool.
I think
Uh,
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
jump in to kind of just elaborate on this, but I think that this really just attributes to the even bigger problem that we've talked about in a previous video. Maybe not necessarily in a Drink Your Tea series, but just about how much confusion around Jeet Kune Do there is. And before we hopped on, I was talking about, you know, if you take Bruce Lee out of it, it's like trying to establish an identity about what JKD is actually supposed to be is presented in so many facets, and everyone is arguing over what it's supposed to be. So like you get these guys that you're talking about, which are the one-dimensional people of, you know, jab and front snap kick, and to some merit, you know, maybe their teacher told them to, you know, go practice that because they're terrible at it, right? I remember a while ago you were like, hey, if sparring is getting too easy for you, then you need to beat everybody with just a jab. So that makes sense, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that's the only thing that you teach. But then you have these other guys, it's like, do whatever you want, style of no style. It's free for all, you know? And then it's like, and then some people are like, yo, it's everything that's in the book. That's what JKD is. And, you know, then there's you and I, and it's like, well, we're kind of just, I'm learning what you taught me, and you pretty much teach what Sifu Jerry taught you, and it's something different, and it's okay.
Yeah.
But
And it's always, I think you really hit on a cool idea of what if we take Bruce Lee out of it? If you take Bruce Lee out of it, you don't quote him, you don't look at him, and you just take Bruce Lee out of that entirely, and you look at the martial art of Jeet Kune Do that's being presented by whoever, and you say, okay, does it have merit? Does it work? Is it functional? Do you think that is being presented, and you throw away all the gimmicks on it, is individual A, are they presenting a martial art
something valuable, yeah.
that makes sense, that you're not trying to justify with, hi, I quoted this and this is what it is. Like, just show the video, show me what you can do. If you go watch wrestling, if you go watch boxing, if you watch judo, if you watch fencing, you don't have to hear like who's doing what and, well, this person was coached by so and so. Like, does it work? Right? Doesn't matter who the coach is, who the famous player is. Does it work?
Well, not just that, but like, take almost like maybe there's a few, but most martial arts, like, you don't start quoting shit. It's just Jeet Kune Do is like the only one where, like, if you bring up karate, like, you're like, oh yeah, karate, horse stance, very strong punches, whatever. But when it comes to Jeet Kune Do, it's fucking be water, my friend, and hua, and it's just like, dude, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Which is ironic. I so I okay. I got four things from Jerry Poteet, and this is he had trained. He was a black belt, like a lot of the guys in LA. He was a black belt under Ed Parker in Kempo, and he was just a guy trying to figure out like, hey, what's Kempo versus Jeet Kune Do, and he'd asked Bruce in a you know moment of just being confused. It was kind of a jumble in his head. What the sense that I got from Jerry when he was telling me the story, he said, "Well, Bruce, how do I know it's Jeet Kune Do?" And Bruce told him, "Well, it's simple. It's efficient. You're using the longest weapon to the nearest target, and you always think hit." Now, my inflection is not going to be the same as Bruce's. Now, here's the flippity flop. When Jerry gave it to me, he actually gave me those same four principles, but he switched around. He said, always think hit, simplicity, efficiency, longest weapon to the nearest target. Now, we applied those every single training session to everything we did. It was always, are we hitting the simplification process, making it more efficient as whatever, and then thinking longest weapon nearest target. So you can't just stand in one position. Again, if you, hi, I stand in one fighting stance and my hands are just so, and I always have to start from this position. Well, you're not really applying that, because what happens when you slip something or after you throw a punch? Now my punch is extended and I missed. What do I do from there? Well, I need to think hit,
It's moment to
and then
moment.
all this stuff,
Yeah.
moment to moment. I had people, students earlier, who would say, "Oh, I read that was in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do," and because I would say something or we're doing something like, "Oh, this is just like in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do," and I was like, "Oh, well, I was thinking of like 2 weeks ago when Jerry and I were moving. That was that class that I had with him.
Mm.
That's where that came from. It wasn't from me reading the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, reading Bruce's notes. It was from me actually training
Being in class, right?
and being in a class. Well, I guess
Or
this. Well,
private, yeah.
I did do a class with. I did seminars with Jerry. I did a class with Jerry, and then I trained privately with him for 4 years. Uh, I was around for a while, and that was in addition to training with everything else and
Yeah, that was
going and
after you
using it.
had already gotten your black belt with Sifu
Hmm.
Ed, and
Yeah, I
training
got
with,
my black belt with Ed in 2005,
yeah, and
and
not to
then
mention you were
uh,
with under Nick Sinek, Sensei Chadwick.
mhm.
Um, what would you call it?
I
Like your instructor or man, lots of people. There's like almost too many to name from these people. And what's crazy is I've actually met most of them. I never met Nick, but I've met a lot of your instructors actually, which is crazy.
Yeah, there's been a couple of them. Yeah, because you were in LA
Right.
for your test, and you met Chadwick in Oklahoma. Um, Nick wasn't there. You wouldn't have met Michael.
No, but
Um,
I mean, I informally met your jujitsu instructor via the interview with an
yeah,
artist.
Fabio.
Yeah,
Fabio's
Fabio.
fantastic. And there's some other ones. Some are Vince has been passed away for years now. There's people out there that I train with and have a lot of good times with. And you know what? We didn't have a freaking quoting time. I wasn't quoting Muay Thai all the time,
Quote
and
trades,
Pong
trade
Pong
quotes.
wasn't like, here's a quote from Muay Thai master so and so. Here's a quote from, like, we didn't pull out
Yeah,
freaking the Tao of Muay Thai. It was punch, kick, block,
I was gonna
and
say a quote from Pong would be
and
punch, punch, kick, kick.
oh shit, man. But you know what? Like that voice is still in my head.
Yeah,
But he put everything with movement, and man, it was just slick, and all the same stuff that Yeah, I guess that's another thing. So like when I was training in Jeet Kune Do, I was around, you know, uh, Savat top end guys of Nick and Michael. I was around, old school Japanese guys, styles with the taijutsu with Chadwick, doing stuff with Vince. I'd been around, Fabio with the grappling and my own and wrestling background, but also like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna stand here and pose, and I'm gonna do a jab and a lead leg hook kick. Like you do that shit on a Thai champion and you have a broken foot, and then they're gonna pound you into the ground.
Right.
And this was something I was teaching in class, and we were talking about the hook kick, and I said, the lead leg pendulum hook kick is faster from the lead side than the rear side, but that's talking about me. My lead leg pendulum hook kick is faster than my rear leg hook kick or round kick, if you want to go with a round kick or whatever, right? Uh, and the same is true if you work through the mechanics. Ian, your lead leg hook kick, pendulum hook kick, is faster than your rear leg hook kick. And the same, I can teach pretty much so anybody to do it that way. Here's the thing: your lead leg hook kick may be faster than your rear leg hook kick, but it might not be faster than someone else's rear leg hook kick.
Right.
I know people who kick stupidly fast
And not
and they've just done thousands and thousands. So a lot of these people come in and they do this egotistical trip of I read some shit and I did some quotes and I learned my one trick pony and I learned, oh, there's a lead leg hook kick. I'm faster with my lead leg hook kick than I am with my rear leg. So I'm better than you because you don't do a lead leg pendulum hook kick.
and not just
Well,
that,
shit, they
but
don't.
even if you score a hit, they're assuming that that is going to incapacitate somebody. It's like you kicked me in the thigh. You missed, and now your toe is broken because you hit my kneecap. Well, now you're fucked. Now what do? You broke your
Or
finger on a finger jab because you just sucked or it was bad timing. Now that's all you got. What the fuck are you gonna do? And unfortunately, that's how a lot of people train, and that's what I think bothers you and I the most, especially with people that throw a punch and just like drop their hand and pose. Like, look how fucking fast I am. It's like, dude, first of all, that wasn't that fucking fast. Second of all, you will get rocked because the people that I know, even, and the people that I've met through you, like, you throw a punch at them and they just go,
mm-hmm. And I think that hits the nail on the head. And look, we all know who they are in the JKD world. They like to throw the Bill G and then pose because they all move like it's a movie. You can pick a list of names of quote unquote second generation people who are showboaty, and they got good fast twitch, but they're not that damn fast. And yeah, and I always say whether it's by intention or happenstance, you throw a punch and I happen to move and you happen to miss and then you do that posy thing and then I'm just pissed off. I know a lot of people who are not JKD who will beat your ass. Like they've got the distance, the timing, they are unbelievable. Here's the thing: I was talking about like you're gonna kick someone in the hook kick, like you go inside the knee, right? You're gonna pop them in there, and I hit really hard, and I know, I train everybody to hit pretty hard. I know some people who just sometimes are kind of like, like they
yeah.
just sort of shrug it off, like, because they have tree trunk legs, and your kick just didn't do anything to them, and they just kind of go, I'm just gonna walk through your shit and beat you down.
Well, not just that, but like, there's this assumption that they've never seen it before, or that you are so good that you are going to be successful. Where like there are people that take kicks, take punches to the face every single day, and that is
Yeah.
not what you are displaying. You are not displaying an aspect of toughness. You are selling a package that is it feels like false confidence of how to be successful in a physical altercation, and that's the problem that I have anyway.
I think they fall into that sort of catchphrasey world of learn the one technique that will stop any attack whatsoever. This one thing will destroy any attacker. And I'm like, but what if I learned the same thing?
Yeah, but I'm
Like
twice your
who
size.
but yours
you
is supposed to
know.
stop mine, but mine's supposed to stop yours. Who's supposed to who's like, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think, look, I often tell students, and I have a great many of my students who are in for, some are in for learning self defense, some are in for just the challenge. Uh, but a lot of them are like, I'm never going to get into a fight. I don't plan to be into a fight. I'm not going to go out and like try to show how tough I am. But they enjoy the training and they enjoy having the correct mindset to challenge themselves properly. It's like taking fencing. Oh, I like doing fencing. Are you really going to go out with a sword and like stab somebody?
Yeah, on guard, motherfucker. Like, no.
Yeah, like no. Or you're doing kendo, right? And are you really going to go out with a katana and chop somebody in half? No. Well, I hope not. But it's like, but those things are still challenging in and of themselves, but with the right mindset, and we can borrow from that to enrich ourselves.
It's
Or we could just be like, fuck it, we're gonna just like, Ian, I'm gonna teach you the one thing I haven't
fireballs.
taught you yet. What is it?
Fireballs. No,
Fireballs. No, $5,000
well,
and I'll
yeah.
teach you fireballs.
Wait 10 more years,
Wait 10 more years.
but make sure that you renew your contract.
Yes,
Yeah.
$5,000 get you to level 1 of learning to shoot fire. Shit, if I could teach your ass how to shoot fireballs, I would charge a lot of damn money.
Yeah, I would too. And I would be a lot more, I'd probably live out there, and be like, honey, my partner's next to me. I'd be like, honey, I love you, but I got to learn how to shoot these fireballs, okay?
Yeah.
So,
I'd be in Vegas where you are just shooting fireballs all the
oh,
time.
yeah. No, but it's interesting though, and it's hard because I think that, everybody has their own interpretation. And I think that you and I talked about this a lot, about trying to leave open space for everyone's own form of expression, but trying to establish this baseline of what the heck this thing is supposed to be, right? Because what even does it mean, and I could imagine that somebody listening that doesn't have any JKD experience would be like, oh, well, as long as it's simple, efficient, longest weapon, nearest target, always thinking hit, XYZ, that's JKD, right? And it's like, well, yes, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a structure to how we cultivate. But the thing is that the structure that we utilize is not necessarily like unique to the movements that we do, aren't necessarily even unique to the art. It's just a matter of something that falls within that criteria. And then as we get better, we try to utilize that scrutiny or that lens or problem solving formula in multiple things that we do, most obviously through movement, right? How do you make a Taekwondo kick more efficient? How do you make a Muay Thai elbow more efficient? Are you doing a crazy load up, skip to my Lu haymaker, or are you trying to really figure out the nuance of finding where it happens naturally? You miss a punch and you shot too far, but you still have an elbow. Things like that. That's, to me anyways, how you develop that mindset of utilizing JKD in things outside of what you would normally call, a JKD jab or a bilji or whatever.
Yeah, I think instead of being really like fixated on here is the one thing and I have to fit into this mold of what Jeet Kune Do is supposed to be because that's my okay. So here are two things. One, like the fucking cult people, they're out there preaching it and preaching it and preaching it. They all have a quote. They all go into the same thing.
Bruce Lee said on page 45 that you have to be like water. We didn't do chi style in the pictures like that.
Yeah, and I have to hold my hand here, and you don't know what you're talking about. But the same people they don't have video of themselves moving ever, but they watch, and then they always post up like, well, that's somebody who's really, really amazing. I'm like, well, that person sucks.
Yeah.
Well, but they're second generation. They train with so and so. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm second generation too. And I'll fucking whoop their ass. And I know lots of people can beat me up, but like, I haven't seen anything that's impressing me. And that's not just compared to the JKD world. That's compared to martial arts. And I know a lot of people outside of JKD. And I think something that I try to really go into my students that moves beyond the name is the analytical skills. How can I look at something and how can I perceive something and then understand how that fits together. And even if I'm not able to, as an athlete, perform that movement to the highest level, I can take that comprehension and refine my own movement and increase my own performance. And then once you practice that in a classroom setting, whatever that is for you, with your martial training, you're doing mind and body and spirit, as the sort of the martial arts kind of talk about all the time. You're committing yourself to problem solving. We talk about this all the time. Okay, how do I make this movement? I'm going to go, yeah, you know what? I am going to go Bill G into lead leg hook kick. Okay, great. But then what happens after that? I think not only are you limiting yourself in movement and in scope of how you can apply, but I think you're just crushing your own creativity, your imagination, and that spark of artistry that is going to allow you to continue to express in every aspect of your life if you're just like, I'm going to be here. And the one trick pony doesn't, you're like, I must only use a number two pencil and I can never use any other thing to draw this picture with. I can't use red. Well,
Yeah.
what about cyan? What about, can I use cinnamon bursts? I don't know, like, but whatever you want to come up with a different color. You're not even, like you get the Crayola crayons. You're
Cerulean
not
kind of
even,
guy.
yeah. Are you getting the 64 pack? Are you getting the, 200 something whatever pack with the super crazy? Are you doing a color wheel and just exploring to see what works?
I
That's what we need to do. We need to explore.
I agree with that 100%, but this is going to try to address the opposite side of that, which I think goes out to all the people that are like, just do whatever you want, bruh, and I'm making up some shit and theory crafting and whatever. Because like, first of all, you should be doing that anyways. But there's a difference between doing that and using it as a matter of exploration versus a matter of this is going to work or this is how I'm going to teach other people to try to be successful. What I believe we are cultivating, regardless of the name, take the name out of it, take Bruce out of it, is teaching you how to cultivate in a manner that still respects a situation or still respects danger or still respects all of the things that made JKD what it was. You know, we're going to explore, we're going to be utilizing, but everything that we go within this exploration is still going to be thinking about being efficient, still thinking about being simple, still thinking about always hitting, right? Am I using my longest weapon to my nearest target, or am I, punching across my body when I'm out of punching range in the first place? So you have to develop that lens first before you get into the creativity, and that's where the structure that we have comes into play, because it's almost like a tool set, and then it creates a web to where you go and use this as your foundation and branch off into all the other things.
I think you hit on a good point. So if you're going for the other side, like well, just do whatever you want to, and that's Jeet Kune Do. I covered this before with that's not my job as an instructor. My job as an instructor is to teach you and guide you. And then your job as a martial artist is to take whatever you want to. But I think having a deeper knowledge of other martial arts helps. Like me, having a knowledge of Muay Thai, I can come in and say, hey, look, if you're going against somebody who's got a really quick lead leg block and you do this hook kick, you're just going to bust your foot. You better put a punch in there. You better distract them with something else and realize that you need to get into somebody who's really fast, and then you need to get the heck out of there, as an example, because they're going to come back and like try to murder you with a kick of their own. Or if you could say, hey, like the end position of your lead leg hook kick is basically the same position as the end of a rear leg round kick in Muay Thai, then people can understand that and they can understand why you might need to train this way, and you can help bridge the gap and fill in some of those spaces with a student. And I think for that, the concept idea has merit and the mixed martial arts idea has merit, but it's not what I personally see out there in the majority. So the sport of mixed martial arts has gone into something else. But like when I came up, we trained with each other all the time, and it was to exploit the weaknesses. Just like I might work with you and you're faster than me, so oh crap, I have to make adjustments to accommodate that. But then I work with somebody else and they're taller than me, or I work with somebody else and they're bigger and stronger than me. I have to adjust my own game to those things. And that's going to help me then take my training in a different direction. So afterwards, I go, well, you know what? Uh, I'm not fast enough with my footwork. I better work on that a little bit more. So I go do push shuffle a million times.
Something that, and we're about time, so I'll wrap up my final thoughts. But something that I really like that Sifu Ed said in one of his videos of like him talking about what his version of JKD was, expressing yourself as honestly as possible, which is super paraphrasing,
Mm-hmm.
but just along those lines. But anyways, it's not even about what he said, but about what I took from it. But something that resonated with me on that front was the aspect of, to me, expressing yourself as honestly as possible is a lot of times accepting what your capacity is and your relationship to the adversity that is in front of you. So if I am, going up against somebody that's twice my size and I train doing posy shit, whatever, to me, that's a huge aspect of being dishonest. I have to change, like you say, the way that I approach this, and I have to go into discovering my weaknesses through that, of understanding what my own capacity is. And the only way that you can get that is by training a lot and also with a lot of different people that help bring you into that, hopefully in a safe way. But if you're just like, yeah, I'm going to be successful every single time and this is going to work and whatever, it's like, yo, I'm not like trying to call anybody a fraud or anything, but like, let's be real here. That's not an honest, you're not expressing yourself in an honest way, I don't believe.
I think you go on a really good thing with that. The honesty. If you are unable to be honest with yourself in training, then that dishonesty, like if you can't say, oh, you know what, I'm not very good at that, or
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be successful. I did it against person A and it didn't work very well. Or, ooh, that combination doesn't flow quite like it should. I can see more. If you can't see the higher evolutions, if you can't see where you can go, if you're not going to be honest with yourself about where you could improve, uh, or should be working, that's a deficiency on my side. If you can't be honest with yourself, then when you express yourself in a volatile situation, that expressing yourself honestly, you aren't going to be thinking about it. So if you're being dishonest, then you're going to do,
Choreography.
I'm going to stand this, and I'm doing
Yeah.
choreography. In the moment, you're not reacting to the stimulus and you're not being honest to the moment, and you are not actually in that moment. That was something that Jerry was really big with us, is being in the moment.
Yeah.
You need to be from moment to moment to moment. If you can be moment to moment to moment, that's you expressing yourself honestly, no matter what you do, because you're not going to be thinking about what you're doing in the moment. If someone's swinging at you and they're coming at you with intent, and it's a question mark whether you're going to win, you are doing whatever, and
Right.
your body just has to react. You're on a subconscious level at that point, and that's the honesty we're talking about. You are doing it. If it comes out now, here's the thing, gang. You can still lose.
Yeah.
Just because you're being honest, just because everything is as good as it could have ever been for you, doesn't mean you're going to win. Because
And
sometimes they're just better than you.
that's why one of the biggest things that like gave me so much respect for the classroom environment that you created in my cultivation is that was like one of the first things that you said to me was, we need to be training against somebody that is at the very least +1. Give everything
Yep.
we have,
Plus
all of
one
our
training.
strengths, +1. +1 is not something that's necessarily insurmountable, but it's something that's going to push you to elevate towards being better than the capacity that you have today. And that is something that I think that you and I can agree on, that we do not see enough with people that are demonstrating a lot of martial arts out there. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and I think the plus one training, we could almost do a whole section on that. I will add, as the last thing on there, the plus one training is very attainable in all of your training. So if I'm having a really amazing day, plus one. If I'm having a mediocre day, +1. If I'm having a really crappy day, and look, I've had some crappy days in training, it's still +1. So you're still striving to go above yourself, but it's not insurmountable. So it makes it a positive training, but you're always working no matter what level you're on. And I think that's a training ideology that you can take and apply to anything you're doing. I want to push myself a little bit more for whatever it is, whether it's tricking, whether you're playing tennis, whatever it is, you want to just improve yourself a little bit every day from wherever you happen to be.
Yeah. And with that, I think that's all I got personally. Do you have anything else, Seafood Joel?
No, I'm gonna end on that one. It sounded kind of good, so I'm gonna leave it there and not muck it
Stop!
up.
Don't say anything stupid. I will say, if you all could like the video, subscribe to the channel. Seafood Joel and I have a course available in the description. It's a really awesome course and goes through a lot of basic movement and whatnot. And it's just meant to be a primer to help get you affiliated with some of the actual core movements that we utilize a lot within our combative training. Yeah, again, it's not going to earn you a crazy ranking thing or anything like that, but it is really good foundational movement that you will be able to apply to just about everything that you do. And yeah,
Yeah, it just covers the fundamentals and gets you going, not only to train by yourself, but also safely begin training with others as well.
yeah, and you get to
Yeah.
see Seafood Joe punch me in the face sometimes. So if anything, cop the thing just for that. But aside from that, thanks everybody, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Yay.